No, no, no. This is not a scene from Star Wars. This is America's greatest geopolitical opponents coming together. All of this as the Ruskies have a pretty big celebration tomorrow that, of course, is going to involve a lot of very interesting people that are coming down for it, as, of course, it could also be met with the Orsenik intercontinental ballistic missiles that could be hitting Kiev here. All of this as tensions are mounting, and the Ukrainians officially said, Suka hublach niet! We are not signing the ceasefire 3-day deal, as there are some fireworks expected for Victory Day, a day that a lot of historians have some very interesting points of view on what's really going on here, as of course there still is an ongoing, unfolding conflict in India and Pakistan, as of course those two countries are at odds with each other. I specifically wanted to give you a kind of holistic geopolitical understanding to where we are at right now and the very dangerous situation that we are involved in. As of course, even the Pakistani-India situation involves Russia, as of course the Indians now are using Russian S-400 air defense systems that they paid $5.4 billion to the Russians for, as Indians are also buying up a lot of Russian energy, as the Americans are saying, you are violating our treaties and sanctions and alliances here. And the alliances sure are mixed up, especially with the latest Pakistan-India incursions, as we have China supporting Pakistan, as well as the Muslim world, Israel, the United States supporting India somewhat, along with Russia, as of course Russia and the United States are in a proxy conflict involved right now in Ukraine, as Iran also is involved with a lot of this as well here, as they have been a major trading and energy partner for China. China is the big picture here because the United States is in direct economic full frontal warfare against the Chinese Republic. All of this as China is getting closer and closer, cozying up to their neighbor up north here that historically, geopolitically, they were always opposed to. China would love for Russia to collapse. They would love to get some of their mineral-rich, resource-rich territory. And there have been many historical territorial disputes between the Chinese and the Russians. There's no love affair between the two. Naturally, they are supposed to be opposed to each other. But strategically, geopolitically, especially when it comes to aligning itself against the U.S. petrodollar, U.S. hegemony, it looks like they are becoming more and more aligned, especially now with this gesture by China as their leader, Xi Jinping, traveled all the way to Moscow to be a part of the Victory Day celebration with Vladimir Putin, with Russia, as there are expected to be major ceremonies, a major parade, and a major signal to the world showing that Russia is going to kind of declare that we have defeated right-wing authoritarian political belief systems before, and quote, we will do it again. It's their big kind of propaganda day. It's like their July 4th, but on steroids, and a lot of people are coming out for it, but the Chinese are the most significant one, as them trading together, engaging in military partnerships, defensive partnerships, as there's reports of Chinese troops right now fighting along the front lines with the North Koreans. Who else is going to be in attendance? Well, the Slovakian prime minister, by the way, had a whole fiasco trying to go to Russia for this parade, as Baltic countries like Lithuania literally closed down the airspace as he was flying, rerouting him and making him go all the way around. Oliver Stone, for some reason, is also going to be celebrating Victory Day. And as a former, as a current Polish person, Victory Day isn't that good for us. Historically speaking, that's when the Soviet Union conquered my country and occupied it, and then arrested and tortured my family members, all to push communism. We didn't like that. And then, of course, we had the Solidarność movement, which my family was a part of, pushing for total, actual, legitimate kind of freedom. Yeah, we don't like top-down, centralized control. We don't like the communists that hated religion, that hated individual liberty, that hated capitalism. As right now, I'm just saying, just to give you a kind of a holistic kind of approach here, because everyone's saying, yeah, the Russians were great. The Russians pillaged and, assaulted a lot of people during their, quote, liberation, too. Look what happened to the German women when the Soviets came in. The horror stories of that untold history, mind-boggling. Plus a lot of propaganda. The Soviet Union kind of came in, also got as many German 1930s and 1940s scientists to work for them automatically. They let the funny mustache guy escape. He was not found. And then the Russians were parading around a female skull. But look, we got him. Look, it's that funny mustache guy. That Kanye West likes to sing about now. For such changes. But when it came to defeating the Germans in the 1930s, the Soviet Union did overwhelmingly sacrifice the most and have the biggest biggest military victories against those Germans. And they were the ones that a lot of historians, and I believe this, even though there's a lot of propaganda surrounding Victory Day, I do believe that it was the Soviet Union that played the most key, crucial role when it came to unwinding the German Empire that, of course, made the ultimate mistake of being inside of the Soviet Union during the winter time, which wasn't the smartest of approaches to make here. The Italians also screwed up big time there. But before getting into the history lore here, we have the news here with Russia preparing arsenic missiles. You saw those arsenic missiles used before, and they are terrifying technology. We're going to tell you about that in a little bit, as well as very interesting news about the North Koreans fighting in Ukraine and the kind of escalation here that we're seeing here that's going to prevent any kind of peace deal moving forward. Before we do that, we want to tell you about thebestpoliticalshirts.com, because they are thebestpoliticalshirts.com. We previously were censored on social media, and when we were censored on social media, I was like, I gotta make some money somehow. We were totally demonetized here on this platform. I'm like, man, what am I gonna do here? And I'm like, if they're gonna censor my messages and they're gonna unsubscribe people, they're still unsubscribing. We have negative 450 subscribers. Always negative for years on end. Subscribe, by the way, if you haven't yet. Maybe that could help fix it somehow. Maybe, probably not. But then I was like, how am I going to survive here? I'm totally demonetized. I used to make money just off monetization. I was like, I'll create a t-shirt store and I'll spread these ideas in platforms and ways that cannot get censored. You know what? You don't want my ideas out there? I'll get them out there into the streets. And that's why one of the shirts that I'm wearing, that says just 2 weeks and you're free, with Bill Gates and Dr. Fauci also, all exclusively available on thebestpoliticalshirts.com. We got a lot of great Bill Gates bangers up there, and Fauci bangers up there. I don't see this shirt. I'm going to tell my team to put it back up, and it should be up in the making of this video. But we got a lot of other great ones. This one's one of my favorites, and it reads, "Where's the Epstein client list?" This one's another great one. Great at parties. I was just wearing this one out and about this weekend. And then so many women like, oh, senor, what is this? We're in Miami. Oh, look at this. I'm like, listen, lady, eyes up here, all right? I'm not just a pleasure toy for you to try to use like you want to, all right? I'm a human being, and I have emotions, too. Darn it. It's fun. I'd have a lot of fun doing that. Get the shirt on thebestpoliticalshirts.com. Link is down in the description below. Now, not getting into the weeds too much about the history point of view here, but now we have the Russians coming forward and saying, hey, 3-day ceasefire during Victory Day. We could relax. We could replenish. We could stop the fighting. It could be a good gesture if you guys would stop fighting on this key significant date here, so we don't have to worry about our defensive systems being up here. And Ukraine said, nope, not going to do that. And Ukraine and Volodymyr Zelensky had some very harsh things to say about the Russians. They officially have denied the ceasefire. As soon as it came out, they're like, we're not doing this. Donald Trump wanted a 30-day ceasefire. Ukraine wanted a 30-day ceasefire. The Russians saw a 30-day ceasefire as a way for Ukraine to get reactivated, re-engaged, rearmed, resupplied, and to give their troops on the front line a well-needed rest, because the troops on the front line on the Ukrainian side aren't getting replaced as often as the Russians are. If you look at Russia, they have the first line of offense, the second line of defense, third line of defense, and even a reservist fourth line that they're all kind of utilizing, that are cycling out and replacing each other throughout the different particular cycles of the front lines that they have set up there. The Ukrainians, because they have a lot less people and they're stretched very thin here, they can't have that many lines, and they can't be cycling out of conflict in and out, because you keep troops and soldiers in conflict for far too long, their morale, their health, their overall mental and physical well-being deteriorates significantly, and the Ukrainians are dealing with an absolutely horrendous, horrible, awful situation that I bet most of them are looking at Zelensky saying no to this 3-day ceasefire because it's supposed to be surrounding the Russian propaganda day, saying, I could have used that. That would have been good. That would have been a good morale boost to understand how ridiculous and silly and stupid this whole war is. But it was the Ukrainians that said no. Donald Trump said he was disappointed with the Russians, saying that they didn't want to do a 30-day, that they did a 3-day. And Donald Trump specifically told the Russians, hey, stop it, when they were bombing Kiev. Now, this is the issue at hand here. There are rumors that the Ukrainians will be launching some military strikes during this Victory Day into Moscow in order to strike fear into the Russians and to their allies that are going to be celebrating this, and their celebrations are going to be cut short by alleged drone attacks that the Ukrainians are planning on this. As Medvedev has hinted, if this happens, that there could be a nuclear retaliation by the Russians, as the Russians are preparing their arsenic missiles. Their arsenic missiles are missiles that just cannot be shut down. These are extremely powerful ballistic intercontinental missiles that literally fly from the heavens, fly from mid-atmosphere, and they come at such speed and such veracity that they could be armed with nuclear warheads. But many times they don't even need to be. The first time we saw this is when the Europeans were escalating the situation in Ukraine, just like they usually do. And they said, yeah, we're going to do all these long-range advanced missile systems, and we're going to start hitting Moscow with some significant military hardware. The Russians responded by sending arsenic missiles into 2 facilities that were extremely accurate when it came to their targeting systems, as it literally pulverized all of the surroundings into dust. There's nothing left. A lot of the people that were first on site were like, what's going on here? What the hell happened here? Everything's obliterated into freaking dust here. What the hell happened here? Where's this building? That's because it was these types of intercontinental kind of ballistic missile systems that were never ever previously used before. Now we're getting rumors that the Russians are preparing, once again, to have them over Kiev, the capital of Ukraine here, if there are provocations during their Victory Day parade. That is the claim that's being made here, according to a lot of the authorities here, as we were getting reports that some people in Ukraine, specifically in Kiev, are leaving and taking their families out of their country, as they are hearing reports that the Ukrainian military is preparing provocations that would, of course, increase and send more military hardware towards Moscow during their celebration. This is, again, very symbolic. And the Russians are saying if you do that, the response will be, quote, very serious, and probably will directly hit the Kiev regime in the center of the town here. So, again, these arsenic missiles, they're pretty serious, and they were a big gesture to the Western world saying, look, we have this type of technology where we could hit anything, anywhere, and there's no missile defense system that could ever stop this. And this is our next level type of weaponry that should scare the utter crap out of everybody. Now, there's a lot of foreign dignitaries inside of Russia. If Russia can't protect the president of China and these foreign mercenaries, if Ukraine's able to get some shots off, you could bet your bottom dollar this is why the Russians are talking as tough as they are here. Now, it's pretty clear here that this, if the Ukrainians do attack, this is going to be a very escalatory type of situation. The Russians will, of course, response. Some people say the response is disproportionate. Some people say it's proportionate. This is kind of a back and forth escalatory type of situation after we had the breakdown of communication, the breakdown of peace talks that, of course, no longer are viable here. And therefore, now we're going to see very desperate measures, I think, made by Ukraine here, as Ukraine is dealing with a morale troop shortage, as there was even news about the United States cutting off even more aid to them, which again is not good news for them. We have seen previously the Russians have a lot of capabilities, and they are implementing and highlighting and saber-rattling some new capabilities. Now, when it comes to these capabilities, when it comes to the kind of troop movement, when it comes to the fighting that's happening in the Oskil River right now, specifically in the Kharkiv section of Russia, of Ukraine, it does look like the Russians are having slow and steady progress militarily into this battlefield, into this conflict zone where they are slowly and surely winning the battle. We have this article from Reuters here, as we have specific orders from Pete Hegseth, who's coming out and just canceled weapons to Ukraine, as Hegseth has ordered this to stop immediately. It has caused confusion around some national security officials. The White House is claiming that Hegseth is following Trump's directive to pause aid, as there are internal disputes now that have happened about the policies that America should be having towards Ukraine here. Now, it definitely does look like Pete Hegseth is a little bit better than I previously thought he would be. It looks like Tulsi Gabbard is also calling a lot of the shots here. And they are trying to, of course, stop this conflict. All of this, as the United States recently extensively decided to do big economic ties between them and Ukraine. As I've said, and now other people are saying this too, but I said as soon as they signed the deal, I looked at the details of this deal, and I'm like, the Ukrainians are getting the better of this deal. But the United States has an important provision in there saying that they could walk away from the deal at any moment and at any time, meaning that specifically, if the United States says, you know what, yeah, we're not happy for any reason, we don't want this deal, and they walk away from it, as the Ukrainians now are going to be paying for their weapons through Ukrainian resources. The deal that Donald Trump wanted was that they would pay back the money that the United States already invested. The Europeans are getting their money back. Americans are not, because Zelensky said, no, your aid was a gift. So clearly, I think right now we are dealing with a very desperate situation. A couple weeks ago, there was 580 kilograms of explosives found in a bus headed towards Moscow. This was probably the groundwork for sabotage attacks that probably would have happened during Victory Day. Let's just be honest with ourselves, or would have been used to try to take out the top political leadership of Russia, as the Ukrainians have been utilizing CIA-targeted hit assassination squads and techniques that have struck fear into the heart of Moscow, not only with their drones, but their scooter bombs, their statue bombs, and their attacks against journalists, media personalities, politicians. And just a few weeks ago, 580 kilograms of explosive busted coming from Poland to Belarus, headed, according to a lot of these sources, towards Moscow. This was probably headed there for, let's be honest, Victory Day celebrations, as we could probably expect, hey, there could have been some of these trucks that could have actually gotten through. Now, what kind of sabotage, CIA, Ukrainian-linked type of terror attack could have this potentially caused inside of Russia? What else are they going to be planning and doing and utilizing for this very key significant day with all of the allies of Russia there? That's the question that I, of course, am personally looking at and worried about personally myself. We still never got a chance to talk about the North Koreans. We're going to talk about the North Koreans because their approach to all of this is kind of very fascinating, and there's a lot of fake news and disinformation about the North Koreans' involvement in this conflict here. But here's the video of special types of explosives in this bus, in this car, that were luckily intercepted at the border, that prevented more terror attacks, that prevented a huge life loss. As again, the Ukrainians, they do not have the military strategic advantage here, especially now with how the United States has been acting. History Legends does some good stuff surrounding the breakdown of everything that kind of unfolds here and how it happens. And everything that he's been kind of highlighting has been the exact opposite of what the corporate media has been saying. The corporate media is like, Ukraine's got this. They're going to defeat us tomorrow. This thing. Oh, it's leopard tag. The leopards. They're going to do it. No. It's these air defense. They're going to do it. Oh, no, this is going to do it. No. And I'm like, you're giving false hope and you're lying. Why are you trying to prolong and continue the death of Ukrainian soldiers and Slavic men all over the world when there's already a population crash, when there's already so few of us? What the hell's going on here? Slavic men's lives matter. I think I'm going to make a shirt like that on thebestpoliticalshirts.com. Get a shirt, support this independent media network, but also at the same time speak your truths here. I love you guys. Stay tuned for more, all here exclusively on youtube.com/wearechange.